Hi, my name is Chandler Williams, and I'm going to be discussing my 14-day field experience. I'll be talking about a number of contextual factors, which are listed right here. I did my experience in a third grade classroom, and in the community that I did my experiences in, the average income is $44,725, and the poverty percentage is 14.5%. Another thing that is a factor in the community is there's a community voted not to pass the school levy, and there are several implications because of this. One of the implications is parents not being able to help with homework. Well, the working class part implication is parents not being able to help with homework due to their working hours, and then the schools district is having to find new ways to cut budget. Not to mention schools are having to find new ways to cut budgets. Another contextual factor is the school itself. The physical features for the school, there are 3 wings, they're all on one level. The levels of education for the teacher is, out of the 25 teachers in the school, 19 of them have a master's degree, and all the teachers have 1 to 3 years of experience in teaching. And then students that are eligible for free and reduced lunch are 37% of students. There are a couple implications because of all these features. The school has easy access for all students of all abilities, not to mention people who may come out outside of the school. There are no shortage of ideas when they're needed from other teachers because of the vast experience between all of the teachers. And there might be some students who don't quite qualify for free and reduced lunch but can't always afford lunch, and so that might affect a student's learning. Another one is the class. The class size is 22 students, which isn't large, but it's not small. There are 2 students who are identified special ed and 1 that's on a 504. I'll talk about the classroom climate and how it's a great positive classroom climate that I hope to have in my classroom one day, and the technology that's used in the school and in the classroom. The implications are, like, the class sizes, like I said, the class sizes are not too small, but they're not too big either. I honestly think that they're just right for all the students. The students who are on the IEP and the 504, they all receive the accommodations they may need, and I think that's great that there are so little of them in the classroom, because this really helps the teacher give them those accommodations and support they may need. The classroom climate, like I said, it was educational and supportive. It's a place where all students can feel like that they belong in the classroom, and I think that's something that is really important. And the Chromebooks are used often throughout the school day, throughout the classroom, not to mention the fact that even though most of the classrooms have access to the Chromebook, there's also a computer lab for students to use if they don't have access to the Chromebooks at that time. The last implication is last contextual factor is the teacher evidence-based practices. The teacher does a lot of I do, we do, you do in the classroom, which I love, and which is something that I've learned how to do. I've learned how to teach using. She also does a lot of check for understanding, reviewing previously learned content, and modeling. And because she does all of these, it allows students to go at their own pace. And if they need a minute, they can take a minute, because she is doing I do, we do, you do with them. She can make sure students are ready to go ready to move on before actually moving on, and I think that's super important. She's reviewing content all the time. For example, in handwriting, she'll say, okay, make a 1 millimeter space in between your words, and she'll say, is millimeter smaller or bigger than a centimeter, and like it just constantly reviewing the content for students and making sure they keep all these things in mind. And she uses multiple ways of teaching depending on the lesson and what will work best, and I think that's great that she knows that. For my standards and objectives, I used the Montana Common Core standards for grade 3, numbers and operations, and they fell under use place value understanding and properties of operation to perform multi-digit arithmetic. The first standard I used was use place value understanding to round whole numbers to the nearest 10 or 100. And the second one was fluently add and subtract within 1000 using strategies and algorithms based on place value properties of operation and or the relationship between addition and subtraction. And my unit goal was given lessons on rounding, subtraction, and addition slash subtraction with an expanded form. Students will demonstrate an understanding of new strategies with 80% accuracy as measured by a pre and post assessment. For the lesson, I taught math intervention, which all the grades participate in the school. And really, math intervention is reviewing skills that they've learned in the years past and keeping those skills fresh in the students' brains. The teacher had me teach this as my unit because it worked out perfectly that they were coming up with new math intervention groups, and they were going to start a new unit anyway, so it just worked out perfectly for our purposes. The first lesson was on rounding. I taught students a rounding rhyme, which is as follows. Underline the digit, look next door. If it's 5 or greater, add one more. If it's less than 5, leave it for sure. Everything after is 0, not more. And I think that the students really did understand it and liked the rhyme. The only thing that I am bummed out about is that I didn't specify on the students' exit ticket that they needed to complete the rhyme. They needed to use the rhyme in order to solve the equation, and the students had used the ways that they had used in the past to solve it, which is fine. I just wish they would have used the strategy that I had taught them. Next, I taught them count back subtraction. It's using an open number line to count backwards by tens and then ones to solve the subtraction problem. But first, we did number of the day, which is their little anticipatory set that they've been doing every single day since day 1. Students really liked it. I really liked it. Through this, I reviewed the rounding rhyme. I had students round the number from the nearest 100 and the nearest 1000 and 10. And before we did any of it, we did the rounding rhyme. And we did that every single day for all the next couple lessons. For this lesson, I used I do, we do, you do, and these lessons are 30 minutes long, so I didn't really have a whole lot of time, and I wish they were longer so I could spend more time working on these with students to really help them grasp the concept, and they didn't really grasp it, so I'm definitely going to need to continue to teach this lesson for a couple more days. The next lesson I did teach was the count back subtraction game. I introduced this game. Well, not the next lesson, but the next lesson in my TWS unit is the count back subtraction game. I introduced this game to students by modeling with a peer and one of their peers, and we both rolled the dice, and that told us what our numbers were. And while I was solving my equation, I would ask if I was doing it right, and the person I was playing against would tell me, yes, I'm doing it right, or no, this is what you need to do. That way they're thinking about what their own learning and thinking about what they understood. I let the students play the game, but they didn't have a whole lot of time to play it before I had to give them their formative assessment for the day. So I think that so I thought the next day would definitely be just a game day, and that's what we did. I let them play the game, and that was a Friday. And then the next lesson was using 3-digit numbers. I didn't want to move on from using 2-digit numbers until I was confident in students' abilities, and I knew I needed to go over how to do it with 3-digit numbers. And so finally students were ready to do it with 3-digit numbers, and I taught them using I do, we do, you do. I reviewed the previous lessons. We added the other step. We went over all the steps, and Students really got it. It was so fun to watch them really understand the concept of this open number line or count back subtraction. Then the last one I taught was expanded form addition, and this was using addition to expand, or expanded addition. So it was using it, and it was solving an addition problem while the numbers were in expanded form, and how to do that. We did all the problems together. I created the first two problems, and then I let the students create the second two with parameters. Like for some students, I would say 1 through 10, give me a number 1 through 10, or for other students, I'd say give me a number 1 through 8, or something like that, depending on what range I wanted the number to be in, for what I wanted the students to practice. As for my results, my pre-assessment and post-assessment growth was 34%, which was a huge growth. And my pre-assessment was 26 and my post-assessment was 51, or no, it was 60. It was huge. I wasn't expecting this much growth, and I thought it was awesome. My pre-instructional subgroup growth was 43%. My instructional subgroup was 27, and my proficient subgroup was 16. I was happy to see students in the proficient subgroup, because when I did the pre-assessment, there was no student in the proficient subgroup. So it was great to see that in the post-assessment results. As you can see here in my examples, that students do make some silly mistakes, and they do get the questions wrong by 1 or 2 points, which is always a bummer. But I really focused on checking their answers in the lessons, and I made sure that I was modeling checking an answer and making sure that they understood that that's different ways that they can check their answers. In my post-assessment, you can see that there are huge gains in the results. For this girl here, Aaliyah, she had 4 the first time and 7 this time. And for this other girl here, Riley, she had 1 the first time and 6 this time. And those were just huge gains in them, and I loved to see that. That was awesome to see as well. And here's my graph. As you can see on my graph, every student had gains in the post-assessment. There was not one student who went down. There was one student who stayed the same. And I'm not quite sure what happened with that, but all the other students grew and learned a lot, and I really enjoyed seeing that and seeing their progress when I was looking over the post-assessment. That was a lot of fun to see. Overall, I had a wonderful experience. It made me I'm doing my student teaching in the next semester, and it made me so excited to do my student teaching and be in the classroom more. My supervising teacher taught me a lot about classroom management and how to successfully use my classroom time. And I also think I learned a lot about myself as a teacher, and what kind of rules that will work for me in my classroom, and what kind of strategies I would want to use in my classroom. And I know I'm going to continue to learn about myself as a teacher as I'm in the classroom more, but I did learn a lot today, or a lot throughout my 14 days in the classroom, about what kind of teacher I might be like when I am finally teaching my own classroom. And that is my presentation. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.